Hey class, it's Professor H. So welcome to week 3 of Excel spreadsheets. I'm going to start this week's lecture video by just taking a look at our study guide for quiz 1. So there's quite a few things on here, and I just want to make sure that everybody is feeling comfortable, and I wanted to give you some tips on how to best sort of study and learn how to do these things for when the quiz comes up. So first we'll talk a little bit about the quiz format. So what will happen is, just like any other assignment that you open in one of our modules, basically your quiz will appear at the bottom of one of the modules. Okay, I will not open until a specific time, but I'll give you more details on that later. When you open the quiz doc, it's going to look just like one of your homework assignments. So you'll click into it. There will be instructions inside, just like this, and there will be a data sheet for you to open, and then there'll be instructions on what I want you to do to the data sheet. So it's going to mirror the format of your homework very closely. The only difference is that when we go to take the quiz, there will be a bit of a time restriction, so you guys have a limited amount of time, which means that you really have to be comfortable performing these functions and manipulations on a sheet quickly. It's hard when you're in an online class because it's so easy to just like go and quickly Google them, or to go back to my YouTube videos and go over or rewind what I had told you to do. But when you're going to do that in a quiz, it slows you down way too much. I expect you guys to take your quizzes just like you would be taking one in class. So performing them with academic integrity, utilizing your own skills. So I have this study guide posted so that you guys know exactly what to expect. So start Excel. You guys know how to do this. You literally either go to your start menu and go to Excel, or you open the file that I give you, and that's how you start Excel. Navigating in a workbook. This mostly has to do with that sheet that I posted in week 1 about the basics of Excel and where everything's located. The longer that we're together in this class, the better you'll get at navigating a workbook, but I will use very specific terminology on the quiz instructions that mirror that handout that was put in the week 1 guide on basics. So that's how you'll know how to navigate. Opening an existing workbook, so same thing, you guys have been doing this every week. You're opening the files that I have attached for you guys to do homework in. These first 3 are really easy. Edit cell contents. Obviously, all of you guys know how to do this too already. So I'm going to close this supply orders. This is from last week. We're going to go over here. We're going to open homework 4. And we're actually going to open one of the sheets from, we're going to go back and open my sheet from week 1 that I gave you as an example, and then we're going to apply the edits that I asked for from week 4. So editing cell contents, you guys open the Excel sheet. Once it loads, it takes a while. You guys click enable. And you guys know that all you have to do to edit a cell is to literally double click inside it, and then you get that cursor and you can write whatever you want in it, or you can write nothing at all. So that one's easy as well. I can't remember what was there before, but we're going to leave it blank for now. We're going to go back to our sheet. So we know how to edit cell contents. Save and print a workbook. So you guys, again, have been saving Excel files every week to turn in as homework. So this one should be easy as well. We're going to go over labels, values, dates, and basic formulas in a cell today. Selecting ranges with the mouse or a keyboard. I went over this in my video tutorial from last week, and I posted an extra YouTube video on this. So this is literally just that trick that I showed you guys by clicking Shift, Control, and then one of the arrow keys all at once. That's all you need to know for that. We're going to go through applying date and number formats today using a dialog box. We know how to change themes, right? So I asked you guys to do that in homework 3. I asked you to change the theme of the table. So you should know how to do that one. Revisit all of the stuff from week 2 if you're struggling with how to change themes. I'll teach you how to use the format painter today. You know how to rename a worksheet. I don't know that I taught you how to redo a color yet, though. So I'm going to highlight the ones that you guys should already know how to do. So we should know how to do all of these already, just by nature of being in the class until week 3. We'll go over find, replace, series, and autofill this week. We know how to apply a table style, right? Remember in homework 3, I asked you to apply table style medium 2, so you guys know how to find that. Today we'll show you how to insert sheets, delete rows, columns, and cells, hide and unhide things, freeze and split things, apply borders and fill, and then use data bars. So we still have a little bit to work through, but it all goes quickly, and really these things are, some of them, quite intuitive. So first thing that we'll do is we'll enter labels, values, dates, basic formulas in a cell. So labels and values, I would consider anything that's text-based, so anything that's words, to be a label. A value would be anything that you're putting in, like numbers. You can format numbers in different ways. Again, one of the easier ways to do it is just to select on the number you want to format and go down to Format Cells. When you click on Format Cells, you're going to get what they call a dialog box. So when I refer to a dialog box and instructions, this is what I'm talking about, this little window that pops up. And most recently, I think in homework 4, I asked you to format your dollar amounts to 3 decimal places. So right here, it shows you how you can format the number. You can format it as money. You can format it as a general number, so you could just do 14 instead of $14. You could do it as a number with multiple decimal places. You can do it as currency with multiple decimal places. So I ask you to do it to 3 digits. So all you're going to do, or I'm sorry, 3 decimal places. So all you're going to do is do this. You can go to 1 decimal place, or you can go to 3. And notice how we got an extra 0 there when I went up to 3. We go down, it deletes 1 0. We go down to 1, it does 1 more 0, or up to 3. So that's the easiest way to format. So you can right-click, go down to Format Cells, and then choose how you want to do it there. We also put the dollar symbol there, and that's just fine. So when you press Enter, you get that dollar symbol. So that's how you do a number. We also want to be able to do dates and basic formulas. So dates, same thing. If you've got a bunch of dates, you can either use your keyboard shortcut of Shift Control down if you want to format them all the same way. You can go right-click, Format Cells, and then it's going to take you, this one says custom, but you could literally go to date, and it's going to show you all the different ways to format dates. So you can go month and day, month, day, year, month with 2 digits, so it's 2 digits, 2 digits, 2 digits. You can have the month name actually abbreviated. You can have the specific day of the week in there. There's lots of different ways to do it, right? If you scroll down, Excel gives you tons of options. I usually ask you to pick a very specific thing. So I'll say format it as month, month, day, day, year, year. So that would be this one, right? Because there's 2 numbers for the month, 2 numbers for the day, 2 numbers for the year. And don't be bothered by the fact that these dates or examples in here don't reflect the current year. It's not going to revert your dates to some past year. It's just showing you an example of what it would look like. So click OK. And notice that it automatically changes them all to that format. So 2 digits for the month, 2 digits for the day, and 2 for the year. So that's all pretty easy. So just remember, if I ask you to format a cell in any particular way, select what that cell is, go to Format, and then either go to Currency if you're dealing with money, or go to Dates if you're dealing with dates, or if at some point we're dealing with time, go to Time. Excel is sort of pre-programmed to be used for these types of functions. So it has a lot of that functionality and formatting built in. You shouldn't have to manipulate anything yourself or go through these cells manually and do them one at a time. So now, last thing on this part is a basic formula. So this one is called the auto sum. So there's a couple ways to do this, but for formulas, the rule that you always have to remember is that a formula begins with an equal sign in Excel. You cannot have any kind of formula if you don't start with an equal sign. So let's say that I'm going to ask you, and I will, to add up all of the amounts that you have spent so far in your spend track spreadsheet. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to insert an equal sign, and since I'm asking you to add them up, basically what I'm asking for is the sum. So I'm going to write the word sum, and then Excel comes with a dialog box and kind of prompts me with all the different sum formulas that it knows. At this point in the game, we're just doing very basic formulas, so we just select this first one. We just want it to plain add up the numbers that we already have. Then I go back here, I select all of the cells that we've done already, I put an end parenthesis on this formula, and I click enter. After I've done that, the sum formula works its magic. It adds up all the numbers in the cells that we had selected and gives you a total here at the bottom. And your sum formula kind of disappears from the cell where you had originally put it. If for some reason on accident you don't capture all the cells that you want to add up, you can easily just double click. So how I did this is I went in here, I double clicked, it reopened my formula, and I can say, okay, maybe I only wanted to add up the first 5 numbers. I can just manipulate it to do that and click enter, and the sum formula will automatically change. Or if I want everything in the row, I just drag it all the way down to the bottom, click enter again, and it's there. So now you guys know how to do all of this. Enter labels, values, dates, basic formulas in Excel. All pretty easy stuff. In addition, you know how to apply dates and number formats from the dialog box. So I actually just covered that while we were talking about all of those other things as well. The format painter is a trickier one, so I will go over this one with you guys on here as well. So the format painter basically takes the formatting of any row or column that you select, and you can automatically apply it to a different part of the Excel workbook. So you see how this top row is in a very specific format. The words are big, they're bold, the background is green. I can use that format and I can paint it over another part of the Excel sheet. So how you use the format painter is you select whatever you want to use as the paint. So think of it as a painting process. So if you want to paint a room, you go to Lowe's, you pick the paint color, okay? So this is me picking the paint color. I highlight the piece that I want to use as the paint. Then on most versions of Excel, the format painter is here. Sometimes it literally is written out as format painter, or it just appears as this little brush. See, I'm hovering over and it says format painter. Think of this as dipping your paintbrush into the paint can. So you select the paint color, you dip the paintbrush in, you click it. Now you see that your paint is highlighted. Now I just take this paintbrush and I go paint over whatever I want to apply the format to. And it's going to paint it to look the same way. Don't freak out if this happens to you. Look, my numbers all look very strange. They look that way because my column is not wide enough to accommodate the new formatting. So all I have to do is go through and reformat these. So I reselect, I go to format cells, I go back to date, and I just select day, day, month, month, year, year again, and they all go back to the dates that they were. Just one of those nuances of Excel. So don't be worried if that happens to you. They're easily changed back. Just make sure you go back and reformat them again. So that's the format painter. You select the paint, you click the paintbrush, and then you go paint over whatever part of the Excel sheet that you wanted to change. And it's going to apply that format. Again, you may have to reformat your cells. So these were in currency format. We're going to go back to that. We're going to click OK, and it changes them back to the way they were. So that's your format painter. Now you know how to do that. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. So we're going to go to series and autofill. Spell checker and autocorrect are just like they look in Microsoft Word, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. If you're having trouble with this, make sure that you do go Google some kind of tutorial, but they're really not that bad. I'll quickly show you in here. We just won't spend much time on it. So the easiest way to do this is just to go review. And then just like Microsoft Word, there's a spell checker right here. So if there's something misspelled, that's all you have to do is just go ABC, and it's going to tell you. So I don't think anything in here is misspelled. No, it just tells me that something's not in the dictionary because I spelled it wrong, right? So there's no E in text, so it does give me the correct. And all I have to do is go change, and it's going to apply that change. Okay, so autocorrect, error checker, spell checking. Don't worry about error checking or autocorrect. Those won't appear on this quiz, even though they are on this study guide. So just kind of strike those from your mind. We'll just go ahead and sort of cross those off the list. Okay, find and replace, series, and autofill. Series and autofill, I think that these are properly named because they are just as they sound. So think of anything that comes in a series. So days of the week, months of the year, letters in the alphabet, counting numbers in a sequence. So anything that comes in order, you can actually just start typing into Excel. I can put the day Wednesday. And once I do that and drag down, it's going to automatically fill the cells below it with the days that come next in the week. And it will repeat that series because it's a finite, universally accepted series for as long as I drag it. So even though I started on Wednesday, Excel automatically knew to go to Thursday. So I'll show you guys again. Let me make sure I go back. We're just going to use our shortcut here. We're going to go right click and we're going to go clear contents. This is a quick way to just empty out cells. Okay, so it doesn't matter what day I start with. Let's start with Tuesday this time. So I go Tuesday. I click enter. I select this again, and over here you see this small square. And once I have that small square in the right-hand corner, I have the option to click once my cursor becomes a cross over it. So you see how my cursor is now a blinking black cross. Go ahead and left click, hold down your left click, and then drag. And it's going to fill as many cells as you want with the rest of the series. So that is what we call series and autofill. It's auto-filling in all of the other cells based on a series that you originated in the first cell. And again, I could do that with months of the year. So I could go April. If I go to April and then drag down, it's going to go May, June, July, August, September. So that's just kind of a shortcut. If you're going to enter information in a series, you only have to enter the first thing, and then it will do the rest of the work if you just drag the sequence down. Okay, so then we got to do find and replace. So find and replace, you go to your home tab, or usually I go to my home tab. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So you go to your home tab, find and select. You can go find or replace here. It's going to come up with both the options. So on here, if I just wanted to find something in a workbook, so say I wanted to find all of the places that I had fast food, I could go find all, and it's going to highlight those one at a time in my workbook, and it tells me down here exactly where they're located. So one of them is in cell C3, one of them is in cell C7, and the value that I had entered was fast food. It found them all, right? If I want to replace them, this is a really cool trick. So say that I misspelled something in my workbook and I misspelled it every time I put it in. Now I want to go replace it. So we're going to keep fast food since there's two values that say fast food. We go to the replace tab. We type in find what. I want it to find the term fast food. And I wanted to replace it with something. Let's say I want to replace it with something more specific. So let's say that I only eat at Taco Bell and I want to replace fast food with Taco Bell. I'm going to go right here to replace all, and it's going to tell me how many replacements it made. I click OK, and now when we look at the sheet, it says Taco Bell where it used to say fast food. So that's the find and replace. So that is located on the home button in your workbook, and you should always have a little button that just says find and select or find and replace, and when you click this, it'll come up. So like I said, even if you just click find, all you have to do is click over to the replace tab and then do your thing. Another easy way to do this in a shortcut is to go Control and the letter F, and it will automatically bring it up from your keyboard. So fun little shortcut there. So now you know all of those. The biggest things that probably for the homework this week will be the inserting and deleting rows, columns, and cells. I think I asked you to insert columns mostly. So when you go to insert a column, you select the column that you want to insert another column next to. So just select it straight up here from the lettering. You're going to right click, and then you have options here. So you can always go insert, and it's going to add the column always to the left. So remember when we were cutting and pasting the order of the columns in week 1, they always paste into the left of whatever column you select. It'll be the same here. So I can do this, I go insert, and it's going to automatically insert a column. It's automatically inserting a column because I selected a column. If I select a row and then select insert, it's automatically going to insert a row above. If you ever do this incorrectly, it's really easy to get rid of it. There's an undo button right up here. It looks like kind of like a U-turn arrow, and I can just undo that. And if I click it sequentially, it's going to undo everything that I did for the last 3 actions. So if you ever make a mistake and insert a row or column in the wrong place, that's an easy way to get rid of it. So select where you'd like to insert something. It's always going to go in to the left or right above. Deleting and inserting sheets is part of this as well. So we go back to our workbook. Remember, we said that the sheets are down here. The easiest way to add them is literally just this little plus sign. So if you click this little plus sign, it adds a bunch of sheets. So I've got all this information on sheet 1, but sheet 2 is blank, and sheet 2 is blank, or I'm sorry, and sheet 3 is blank, and sheet 4 is blank, and they'll remain blank until we put new information in them. So that's how you add them. You add them with the little plus sign. You can also add or subtract them by right-clicking, just like we did for inserting cells, and we can just go delete, and now they're gone, and delete, and delete. Similarly, if you want to insert that way, you can go down, select a sheet, right-click, click Insert, and it's going to think about it for a minute because it's asking me what I want to do. But you can insert that way. To delete cells, this is a little tricky. For the point that we're at right now in the class, I don't recommend deleting individual cells because sometimes it messes up the whole formatting of your workbook. But say I wanted to delete these 3 cells, all I would do is I would select them either with my keyboard or with my mouse. I would right click and I'd click delete, and it's going to ask me, do I want to shift the cells left, shift them up, delete the entire row, or delete the entire column. So for this purpose, we're going to shift the cells up. I click OK, and they disappear. And notice that because I deleted them and they were part of this sum formula, my sum formula changed. So it subtracted the ones we deleted and gave me the new sum of the remaining cells. Hide and unhide columns and rows. So I asked you to do this on your homework. So this is kind of a tricky trick, but the easiest way to do this is you can select whatever column or row you want to hide. So let's say I ask you to hide column B. You click on column B from the very top, select it all, you right click, and you literally just go hide. So column B disappears. This can get very confusing and tricky if you're not sure how to hide and unhide things. To unhide it, you see that there's a little tiny sliver up here between A and C, and you can tell that a column is hidden because our sequencing jumps from A to C. We can tell that B is missing. I have to double click on that little space, and see, it's not always easy. So sometimes you have to right click and click unhide. Otherwise, you can sometimes get it to reappear if you can double click exactly on that little sliver that's up there, but it's really hard to get your mouse on there, and it usually ends up taking, see, there you go. But it usually ends up taking more time. So the easiest way is to right click, click hide, or if you want to unhide it, go right back up, try to get right there in the middle, and then right click and say unhide. You can do the same thing with a row. So hide that row. So now we can see that row 4 is hidden because we skipped from 3 to 5, but we see this weird little sliver here where we can double click and unhide it. So that is hiding and unhiding. Freezing and splitting a window. This is for when you're working with large volumes of data. So you select where you want to freeze or split the window, and this makes more sense. You often see frozen windows when you scroll through websites. What that means is that, for example, we might want this to stay stable as we scroll down a web page or stay stagnant. So let's go here. So we're going to go freeze and split, and I believe this is usually in data. There are different versions of Excel, by the way, so you guys may have to go and look around for where these tools are for you. Sometimes they are located in different places. So for example, I'm using my husband's computer to record this video, and I am looking for my freeze and split. Sometimes they're on the home page as well. it's not going to be on there. Oh, lovely. We've got a not responding for a second. It's just the nature of computers. There we go. Okay. So we've got our what if analysis. Where is our freeze and split? Okay, so here it is. So in my husband's version of Excel, it's under View. On my version of Excel, on my MacBook or on my computer at work, I'm not using Excel 365. I'm using the actual, like licensed version of Excel. So they will be different in different versions. So the first thing we want to do is freeze the panes. So I select the row where I want to freeze and I click Freeze. So for this example, we're going to freeze the top row. So what this means is that your top row is going to stay visible while you're scrolling through the rest of the sheet. So we're going to do that. So freeze top row. We click that. And now when we scroll down, see that top row stays completely stable. The date, amount, and category stay tethered to the top even though we scroll down. To undo this, all you have to do is go back and usually click it again, and that'll undo it. So if you go back, click it again, and go unfreeze, now it's back to the way it was. See that the date, column, and amount does not stay tethered to the top. So that's freezing. You're just going to keep one part of the workbook in place, and you can freeze at any point. So let's say we wanted to freeze everything from column 5 down. So we're just going to click Freeze Panes, and then when we scroll down, see number 5, or everything from 4 up, stays frozen. Okay, so now you see that the top half stays stable, the bottom half scrolls. The next thing we can do after we freeze a screen is to split it. So you select where you'd like to split it and you click Split. What this means is that now you see over here you have 2 different cursors. You can scroll the top half of the screen or the bottom half. It is both frozen and split. So you'll know that your screen has been split. Usually a thicker bar appears here. To undo it, you just double click on that twice, or you can click the split button again and it will undo it. So that's freezing and splitting. Apply borders and fill. This is an easy one. We'll go back to our workbook. Applying borders is literally just like a way to format your data. So I'm actually going to unformat this stuff so that you guys can see. So you see how all of these cells are green. Let's say I didn't want them green anymore. I'd go to our font formatting. I'd go to our little fill bucket, right? And if you hover over it, it says fill color. And I could change this to any color I wanted. So we could change them to orange or light orange or whatever you want to call this. Now they're all formatted orange. Or if we didn't want any fill in them at all, instead of selecting the white, because white is actually a color. Like if you print white on a printer, it produces white ink. The absence of any color at all is just called no fill. Okay, or we could just do certain parts of the sheet in different colors. So we could do this row blue. So there's your fill button. The last thing in this part is applying borders and then data bars. So to apply borders, there are borders applied to these 2 columns already, and what that means is this thick black line that's appearing around some of it. There's no border applied over here. So let's say that I wanted to make this data in column C look like the data is in column A and B. I would just select this data. I would go over here to this little box. It's like a little dotted box. And this is the Apply Borders area. So if I click on the little arrow to the right of the borders, it shows me all the different borders there are. So I can apply just bottom borders, I can apply top borders, left-hand side, right-hand side, no borders at all, or all borders. So I'm going to do all borders. I want a border around the top, bottom, and both sides. I click that, and it applies. To get rid of borders, same thing. You just select the area where you want to remove the borders or change them, and you can select no borders. And they'll disappear. See, there's no borders on it now. Or I could say I just want bottom borders, and then they're going to appear just on the bottom. Or I can go back and do it completely, and they reappear. So there's your borders and fill. And then the last thing that I'll show you for this tutorial is data bars. So data bars apply to anywhere where there's actual like numerical data as opposed to qualitative data. So think of qualitative data as words. Data bars only apply to numbers, really. They don't even really apply to dates. So data bars are a way of visually representing numbers. So I'm going to apply data bars to my amount column. I'm going to do this by selecting my amount column, and then I'm going to go to data. And in here, we should have an option for inserting data bars. Again, sometimes it's located in a different area on a different computer. Here we go, it might be on our Insert tab. Pictures, icons, that's not what we want. Okay, so for this one, they're on the Home tab. So here, you highlight the data where you want to apply data bars. And then a data bar is just, again, a graphic representation of a number. So we go to conditional formatting. This one's located on the home page. And data bars are a type of conditional formatting. So we click conditional formatting. We go down to data bars. And then we select what color. So we've got gradient data bars and solid data bars. They do exactly the same thing. Gradient is like, you know, when it fades from one color to a lighter color or something like that. We're just going to select pink ones. Okay, so now you can see it graphically shows a bar representing each value. So 14 is up over here. You can see the bar for 676 is shorter. The one for 44 is longer. The one for 53 is longer. The one from 162 is really long. The wider your range of numbers, the less accurate data bars will look. So if you're using a scale of like 1,000, a number like 12 is really not going to show a data bar at all because it's such a wide scale that it becomes difficult for Excel to actually create a data bar that graphically represents like the number 12 accurately. So just know that the data bars work best when your data represents a small range of numbers. So that's conditional formatting. And those are data bars. To remove your data bars, you would highlight anywhere that there's data bars, you'd go back to conditional formatting, and you would click clear rules. I know that sounds really strange. And then you could either select to remove them from specific selected cells or clear from the entire sheet. Either way, doesn't matter. But that's how you would remove them. So that's most of what is going to appear on your quiz. I would recommend watching this video a couple of times and studying the other YouTube videos that I have posted. And then to email me if there are any questions about this week's homework or what's coming up for quiz 1. All right, have a great week, guys.